Talks Taxes, because, as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea. Good morning, everyone, on this 20th day of February. Beautiful, bright, sunny day this morning. 31 degrees out there. A little cold as I came to the studio, but still a beautiful day. The program is Gilbert Talks Taxes. My name is Gilbert Carmona. I'm an enrolled agent. You can reach me. My telephone number is 828-289-9300. You can send me an email at gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. Thank you very much. No, they were already calling the program. Somebody just called in and said, how much do I charge to file a tax return? I'll talk about that on the air. I don't mind. Our basic tax return starts at $100. That is complete, turnkey, everything. We do it all. That's including the state. That's including direct deposit of your refund if you need that. That includes everything. Just one price, one shop does it all. Now, if there's another state, so many people here in North Carolina work in South Carolina, we charge an extra $25 because we got to process another state. Interesting. I'm going to talk about state taxes here in a minute because they're often ignored yet cause all kinds of problems. Taxation's what I do. We file tax returns this time of the year, but I'm also an enrolled agent. As an enrolled agent, I represent taxpayers in problems and matters and all kinds of things. I'm authorized to represent you before the IRS or any taxing authority. My authority comes from the IRS. I have two offices, one here in Rutherford, 113 Whiteside Road. Have another office in Tryon, 226 South Trade Street. And Todd, my engineer this morning, Todd, good morning. And my Tryon building, the beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown Tryon. The same telephone number gets you an appointment at either one. I'm in Tryon 2 days a week. The rest of the time, I'm right here. Christy, my able-bodied wife and assistant, actually, she's the brains of the operation. I'm going to tell you right now. She's the one that keeps the ball moving over there. Christy's there 2 days a week. I'm there 2 days a week, and we mostly we're there by appointment. We do have some staff there 5 days a week, but as far as getting us there. And we also do financial planning. I was voted, Todd, I'm going to say this every Saturday for a while because to me it was a super big deal. I was voted best of Rutherford County, best financial planner. I had gotten it in 15 and I got it in 19, but I was really surprised when I got it this year for 20. That was for 2020. I was very surprised. But thank you, everyone that voted for me over there at the Daily Courier. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate them for doing that. And it was actually, like I said, it came as a real surprise. So we do a little bit of everything, but tax preparation is our core business. It's what we do the most of. And let me get into that right now. Refunds are already coming back, if you can believe that. There are people that have already gotten their refunds, which is some of the shortest turnaround time I have ever seen. 8 days. People were notifying me they've already gotten refunds, gotten some phone calls. Now, South Carolina, North Carolina, they've been releasing refunds. They were ready. The only reason you couldn't file them till February 12th is because you couldn't file the federal, and you got to file them together. You couldn't file the federal till February 12th, but the states were ready because they didn't have any of that pesky stimulus check stuff to get in the way. They weren't backed up because of that. So the IRS had to wait. They waited. They got that done, and now the states are full bore. So people are getting their state refunds already. They had said originally, they meaning the IRS, had said originally they weren't going to start releasing refunds until the 27th, and then to wait 7 to 11 days after that till you started seeing them hit the bank. But no, they're coming out now. So they probably throttled that up a little bit to make up for lost time, because it's going to be probably by April 15th. It's going to be somewhere around 140 to 150 million tax returns will be filed. And I've said this before, it's impressive what they do to handle that many tax returns, to handle that many refunds, and to dish that much money out. Everywhere they seem to drop the ball is where they're asked to do something that's not their core function, like handing out the stimulus money. I mean, this is something that they haven't done anything like that since George Bush gave us $400. And when was that? I keep forgetting. 2008, 9, something like that. There was $400. So it's been, they were a little rusty on that. They hadn't done it in a while. So, but really their core function, which is paperwork shuffling, when they're doing that well. Now, if you've mailed a letter to them or you faxed something in because you're having an issue, they are extremely backed up. We're talking really backed up. I have heard somebody in my office yesterday said they were talking to an IRS agent. They were somewhere at a function, and the man there happened to be an IRS agent, and they were on this topic. There are tractor trailers full of mail because where they shut the offices down because of the China virus. They closed all those offices down on March 13th, and all they did with that mail, well, the post office kept delivering mail. The post office didn't stop. So what did they do with that mail? They rented tractor trailers, parked them in the parking lot, and just put the mail in there while they could decide how to get it in the building, system to get it in the building. The thing that's got me concerned, and now I also heard the story from a man who actually saw it. He's a United States tax court practitioner who taught our continuing ed class back in December. He was actually at one of the campuses and saw with his own 2 eyes rows of trailers full of mail. And the thing that concerned him is the mail that got there first just keeps getting pushed towards the back. So it's going to be last in, first out. So there's mail that's been sitting in that trailer how long does it take to fill up a trailer? He said it's those white plastic totes that the post office uses. They just stacked them up and pushed them in. And he said, that job, it looks like it could take years. And I said, well, who knows? Who knows what they're going to do with all that? But if you've sent a letter, or if you've sent an amended tax return, or if you've sent an inquiry, this could take a long time. I've got situations that were responded to back in August, September, October, and I've called about it, and it hasn't even hit the system yet. So here we are going on 6 months later, and they're not even in the system. So people are getting letters saying you owe money or you need to do something because the computer just keeps spitting those letters out. There's no human being involved in that process. Okay, it is a computer. It is spitting letters out. So you're going to get a letter that you owe. Well, it was wrong. You didn't owe that money. You responded. You told them, what it was. You corrected it, which is what we normally do. And then it's sitting somewhere. So the computer doesn't know that. So the computer's going to keep spitting that out. So all you can do is just, my people, I'm telling them, just bring me the letter, and I call the IRS and I let them know what's going on, and they notate the account, and then we just keep putting it on hold. But this is not going to be a situation that's going to be resolved anytime soon. Okay, so, but everything else seems to be going pretty good. We're filing tax returns. They're being accepted. They're posting to the system, and people are starting to get refunds. So we were very excited about those when we were notified about that. Just very excited, and we'll keep looking. And if you're one of my customers and you're getting a refund, and when you get your refund, please just pick up the phone and just say, tell Gilbert I got my IRS refund. Thank you very much. I'd like to know that. Those of you live streaming, I didn't welcome our live streaming. A lot of people live stream us, and a lot of people are seeing us in other states. I've gotten phone calls from other states, many other states, because they catch us later online and on YouTube, of all places. I was not aware of this, how much it is, how many people do it. So those of you live streaming and catching me later, good morning. Thank you very much, or good afternoon, or good night, whatever time you're listening to me. Thank you very much for doing that. It's www.wcab59.com, or if you're picking it up on YouTube, it's just WCAB. Now, I'm going to circle back around as our new press secretary seems to be the only phrase in her vocabulary. I'm going to circle back around. I'm going to circle back around to last week when I was speaking about, I'm going to go ahead and get into that topic because I get into this topic at the end of the program and then I run out of time. So I was talking about what happens when someone passes away, because it seems like we've had a lot of people pass away lately. And well, this has become more of a retirement community. A lot of elderly people from all over the country are retiring here. So, I mean, that's what happens. So, it seems like we've been getting a lot more of it, and so we're seeing some patterns with some things. And I just want to share that with people. That's all I want to do. I'm not a lawyer. I'm an enrolled agent. Taxation's what I do, but so much of this gets over into law. So I was talking about wills. And again, I have an hour. I try to get a lot of information in there in that hour, and I tend to talk really fast. So I've been told slow down a little bit. So I made a comment that in North Carolina you can handwrite a will, and we got phone calls and comments. People said no, you can't, and then people have had a situation where maybe they had a relative who had a handwritten will and the judge wouldn't accept it because it wasn't notarized or it wasn't witnessed or it wasn't whatever. Okay, so that wasn't the point I was trying to make. The point I was trying to make was not to have a handwritten will or to not have a handwritten will. I will be the first one to tell you to get a lawyer, and I said that. I said get a lawyer. The average price for a will, and again, lawyers, I don't know, you tell me. Call me and let me know what you charge. But the average price for a will seems to be anywhere from $400 to $600, $700. $500 seems to be the going rate for just a basic will. You start setting up fancy things, the price goes up because I know lawyers bill by the hour. And rightfully so. The more complicated these instruments get, because that is what a will is, it's an instrument, the more complicated they get, the more time and the more expertise is involved. So it's not uncommon to spend $1,250, $1,500, $2,500. I had a client spend $5,000 on a will. It was a very complicated will. There was a lot of moving parts to it. And then I've had clients spend $250, $300 on a will, done by a lawyer, by an attorney. Okay? My point was, do not have a handwritten will if you can avoid it. Do not go to that great lawyer Google. Todd, maybe you've heard of Attorney Google. That seems to be Attorney Google and Dr. Google. Those are they're two brothers. They're in practice together. It's crazy. People will do that, but they won't pick up the phone to talk to a professional. So you go to Attorney Google and you download a template for a will, and you may even pay $25 or something. You go to some website and you download a template and you do it. Last year I had a case where a person did that, and it was a mess that we're still sorting out. It's a mess all across the board. Attorneys, IRS, family members, first wife, second wife, it's a mess. It would have been better if he would have done nothing. But now that he created this will, it's a mess. Okay, I'm not going to get into details. Let's just say it's a mess. And really, his heart was to do it right. But so for the people that called and said that it's not legal to do a handwritten will, yes, it is. It's very legal. And I got this from an attorney. And I'm going to read it real quick. North Carolina recognizes the validity of handwritten wills. They're called holographic wills, by the way, is the technical word, Todd. But Todd wanted to be sure I said that. Holographic wills. Under North Carolina law, a handwritten will must satisfy the following requirements. There's only 3 requirements for a handwritten will to be valid. in North Carolina. It's got to be written entirely in the handwriting of the will maker. So the person has to, from beginning to end, handwrite it. You can't type it and then sign it. Okay, that is not a handwritten will. A handwritten will is literally that, a handwritten will. Number two, it must be signed by the will maker, or his name written in or on the will in his own handwriting. So some people don't have a signature, or they can't, but as long as they can write their name on there, it's valid. And it needs to be found after the will maker's death among his valuable papers or effects in a place of safekeeping. So wherever he keeps his documents, whatever deeds, trusts, whatever bonds, usually those people, like my Uncle Marvin's story, Uncle Marvin had a filing cabinet drawer full of all his, which made it real easy for everybody. Everything was there in one drawer. He had everything in there. He had savings bonds that were 40 years old. He had it all in there. Everything. Life insurance policies, deed to the house, title to the car, everything was in there. So if your handwritten will is found there or found after your death, those three things. So it doesn't even have to be dated. It doesn't even have to have being of sound mind. Some people think that you have to handwrite that on there. I, John Smith, being of sound mind. No, that doesn't even have to be on there. But a handwritten will, there's no special language, no special formatting. A handwritten will must simply satisfy those three elements I just read to be valid in North Carolina. So for some people, this is, an easy and cheap way to do a will. However, handwriting a will creates a lot of problems. And in there, what you say is what creates the problem. You can't circumvent law. There's certain legal things. If somebody's name is on the title to a property, this is an example. If somebody's name is on the title to the property with you, you can't in your will remove them from the title. You can't say, well, me and Bob are on that, but Daddy always wanted that land to go to my sister, so I'm giving that land to my sister. You can't do that because Bob is on the title. You can't get him off there. And then you get into some things like that. And that may be where the people that called and said, well, the attorney wasn't going to honor a handwritten will, or the judge wasn't going to honor the handwritten will because it wasn't notarized, it wasn't witnessed. The only reason I think that, there's always more to the story, right? So something tells me that they were trying to do something that the judge wasn't going to go with. Because the bottom line is, this is what happens, is that will, whether it's the $5,000 will that my client had made or the $300 will that my client had made, it's still going to go sit in front of a judge, both of them. There's one judge, right? It's going to sit in front of that judge, only one judge, and he's going to read it. And he's going to go with whatever he thinks it says or he feels it says, or what's legal. Okay? So if you try to do things like that, or you try to do something and he didn't feel good about it, he said, well, I'm not going to do that. It's not notarized. It's not witnessed, whatever he said about it. But it does not have to be notarized. It does not have to be witnessed. It doesn't even have to be dated. It literally just a handwritten will of what you want to happen with your things. But the point that I was trying to make is please, for just a few $100s, you're going to protect assets. Your will, which is what a will is, it is your will, what you want, is going to happen. Please see a lawyer. Get a lawyer involved. So all you lawyers out there, that is what I am telling everybody. That is my advice. It always has been my advice. I'm not telling people to do this on their own. And I'm sorry if it came across that way. But I want that. And again, there's nothing in it. I'm passing this advice on to people because I see what happens after somebody dies with no will or a poorly written will. And I shared the story about the poor little dog that ended up in the pound because there was no will, there was no nothing, and there was nothing in place. And the two family members that were stepping up to the plate, they didn't want the dog. And so it seems like a minor detail, but I'm sure that lady, that was an important thing. Of course, now we'll never know. So, and you address everything in the will. Everything. Who's going to get the puppy? Okay? Everything goes in there. Everything you want. There's no detail too minor. Again, the more complicated you make it, the more it's going to cost you. but some basic things. And I'm going to talk about what happens when somebody passes away and the executor has to file a tax return. Let me get into that. Todd, let's take a quick break. I'll be right back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
Hi there, this is Kimberly, and I'm here to tell you about Peterson's Auto Service and Detail Shop. As a woman, I'm often apprehensive about taking my car to a dirty service garage. But you can be assured that Peterson's, located at 478 Butler Road, Forest City, has an incredibly clean and safe environment where you get high-quality service at a great price. Peterson's was voted Rutherford County's best auto service 3 years in a row. So take your car to Peterson's for brakes, oil change, North Carolina inspection, tire rotation, headlight lens restoration, scratch removal, and meticulous auto detailing. That's Peterson's at 478 Butler Road, Forest City. You can call him for an appointment at 245-8889.
This is Gilbert. If you owe the IRS past due taxes, don't call those toll-free national numbers. Local, affordable help is right here in Rutherford County. Stop garnishments, levies, and liens. Call Gilbert Carmona at 828-289-9300. All initial consultations are free. Call Gilbert, 828-289-9300.
We are back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes. WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. Again, those of you live streaming right here in the studio, www.wcab59.com. Welcome. One thing I wanted to say about wills, whether it's a handwritten will or a handwritten will is recognized in North Carolina, but it is not recognized in every state. And even if you do a will through an attorney, you do a will in North Carolina, you may. There are 50 states, and they all have different laws. And so you may, if you move to another state, you may have to redo your will in that state. Your will may not be valid in that state. A handwritten will may not be valid. There are states that don't recognize a handwritten will. So I wanted to say that because people do move, and people do, retire and go somewhere else, and they don't think about this. So if you do move, you just may want to, drop it off at an attorney and say, hey, can you look this over? And then people talk about making changes to wills. An attorney there are two main attorneys that I refer people to for wills, and I'm not going to give them a plug on the air. There's two, just because I know they do a good job, and it's just two that I work with, but there are many that do this, okay? But the two that I have talked to have both told me the same thing. A lot of times it's easier to just rewrite the will than it is to do what's called a codicil, which is to make a change to the will, because one change might affect something else. It's a domino effect. So pretty much both of them feel, as far as the cost goes, it's the same almost when you get done factoring in your time. And some codicils could even be more complicated. So they just are in favor of just completely rewriting the whole thing. The way it works is the latest one is the valid one. So if you've got one you did 5 years ago, you do one today. The one today is the one that's valid. It's done by date. So I wanted to get that out there. Okay, so now someone has passed away. The executor, exectrix, trustee, whatever you want to call it, there's going to be a person that's going to be responsible for administrating the decedent. That's the person that passed away, is going to be to handle all of this. Okay, someone's got to handle the financial fallout. Someone's responsible. My part in it is the tax returns. So after a person's passed away, the last year that they were alive for the whole year, regardless of when during that year they passed away, they have to file their last tax return. Okay, so and executors are responsible for taking care of that. And just so you know, the IRS does hold you responsible, like financially responsible, liable for your actions as an executor. It's some people feel that, well, I'm just doing this as a favor. I was just helping out. It was my uncle, my cousin, my whatever, my parent. I'm not, whatever. No, it is your responsibility to do this and to do it correctly. So that was the point I wanted to make with all of this. And that's why you want to have a will. You want to make the job easy for this executor who has now stepped up to the plate to do this. And this executor may or may not know what they're doing. Okay, most of them don't. Unless you come from a huge family and you've, done this 2 or 3 times, most people will only be an executor once, maybe twice in their life. So it's not like you're going to have a lot of experience doing it. That's, again, gets back to the will. Why do you want one? To make it simple for the executor. They've got decisions to make, and you want those decisions to be simple, and you want those decisions to be straightforward. So it's pretty much fill in the box, yes, no, to things. Now, executor, your responsibility is simple, right? Identify the estate's assets. When a person passes away, their death immediately creates an estate. So this estate now has assets. You've got to identify the assets, you've got to pay off the debt, and you've got to distribute whatever money's left over. After you've paid off the debt, you distribute whatever money's left over to the heirs and beneficiaries. Simple enough, right? Okay, that's where the problem is. Where's the devil, Todd? In the details. Exactly. That's where the devil is. And one of the main responsibilities that you have is filing the necessary tax returns, and not just filing those tax returns, paying those taxes. The estate, okay, so then we get into this whole question of estate taxes, inheritance taxes. Estates are exempt up to $10 million. And it's 10 million and change. It's an odd number. And every time I say that, I think it's 10.4. 10.4. Well, that's going to change because this new presidency, new administration, whatever, has already said they're going to lower that. It used to be 5.2 million. And then, if you remember, in the 2016 election cycle, the candidate at that time, the Democrat candidate, wanted to make it $1 million. And people think, oh, 1 million, my estate's never going to get that big. Wrong. You'd be surprised when you factor in everything involved: real estate, land, retirement plans, pension plans. It's not that out there anymore. Especially, I've said this over the previous weeks quite a bit. You have somebody that's been living in a house 20, 30 years. You've got a house, could be worth $300,000, $400,000 today, with land and everything. That's Uncle Marvin's story. Uncle Marvin lived on 40 acres, had some house that his nephew called a shack. By the way, Uncle Marvin's not his real name. Okay, that's just what I call him. When the real estate agent told them they wanted to put it on the market for $425,000, everybody dropped their jaws. They were shocked. They said, that shack? Well, that shack was sitting on 40 acres of really beautiful land. Okay, and there was some other things that went with it. There were some outbuildings and some things, and they not only did they ask $425,000, they sold it for $425,000. Okay, so you'd be surprised. You would be surprised. It's not that hard these days, so don't assume that. And with 401k plans, pension plans, we don't have pension plans anymore nowadays, but it's mostly 401, SEP, Simples, IRAs. I recently had one and surprised everybody. The man had like $300,000 in his 401. Now 401s should already have a beneficiary designation. There should be a beneficiary that gets that. That doesn't go into the estate. But what happened in this scenario is the person he had as his beneficiary, which is the next topic I want to talk about, the person he had as his beneficiary had passed away. And he never changed it. Not only in this particular story, not only did he had a beneficiary and a contingent beneficiary, and they had both passed away. And he never looked at that, and he never changed it. So what happens in that case? That money, that 200 and whatever thousand, now goes into the estate. It becomes part of the estate. It does not go to the beneficiary, which in this scenario was not the end of the world, because there was some other money that the beneficiaries got. So, and we were able to take care of that, dispersing that. But it can create a problem. So check your will and check your beneficiary designations before you pass away, because after you passed away, it's too late. There's nothing we can do. Okay, so executor, you're responsible for that. Now, it's not going to pay taxes up until $10 million, like I said, but if there are investments in the estate, like that 401 that went into the estate, the taxes on that estate, the interest and the dividends and the capital gain that those investments are making are taxed. You have taxes on those investments. You, executor, trustee, person, are responsible to pay those taxes. And I just had one where the taxes were pretty substantial. And you got to pay them, and you got to timely pay them, or there will be fines and penalties that comes out of the estate, which means the heirs are going to get that much less money. Okay? And you want to see some upset heirs? Tell them that their inheritance has been reduced by $15,000 or $20,000 because of fees and penalties due to the IRS. They're not going to be happy. So it's very important you stay on top of this. Now there is an option if an estate is big enough where you can hire a professional executor to handle the estate. Typically it's an attorney that specializes in that, or an enrolled agent like myself that specializes in that. I don't do that, by the way, so this isn't a plug for me, or a plug for anybody that I know. That is an option. If there was an estate that was big enough, you may want to look at that. You, the person as the executor, may want to say, I may want to turn this whole thing over to a professional and let them manage it. It's up to you. But if things are done right on the front end and it's kept very simple, I don't think you need to go that far. Okay, you treat it like a project. This is a project that you're managing. Very simple. But the point I wanted to make is there's liabilities involved to you. Be aware you're liable. People out there, have a will. Make it simple for these executors. And if you have, of course, I'm available to do these tax returns. If you have this situation, there's a lot more. This is a topic. I could do a week of shows on this. There are so many scenarios. There are so many things that happen. I just wanted to put it out there and let you know that this is a thing. And as we have an aging population right now, this is a thing we need to look at more and more. Okay, and I'll be talking about it some more. But I feel like that's enough of that for today, Todd. What do you think? That's enough of that for today. I'm going to talk about, when we get back, I'm going to talk about how the different states tax retirement and Social Security income. I'm going to get on that real quick because states are an issue and things are done differently at the state level than at the federal. And we always think about federal, but most of this taxation happens at the state level. Okay, let's take a break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous. People come up to me and say, Gilbert, thank you for doing my tax return and thank you for getting me that big refund. Do you have any ideas what I can do with that refund? Oh, yes, I do. Take that refund right over to NC Tractor and Farm Supply, talk to Phil, get you a brand new shiny red Massey Ferguson. That's NC Tractor and Farm Supply, Railroad Avenue. You can call Phil at 828-429-5008. By the way, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. I'm hoping he'll give me a discount when I go buy my brand new shiny Massey Ferguson tractor.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. I am Gilbert Carmona. I am an enrolled agent, for those of you that didn't know that. If you need to get me, my telephone number is 828-289-9300. I have an office here in Rutherford, 113 Whitesides Road. I have another office in Tryon, 226 South Trade Street. Same phone number, gets both offices, 289-9300. Or shoot me an email, gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. Live streaming looks great. Looks absolutely great. Todd, good job, my engineer this morning, Todd. Before I get into, I'm going to talk about how states tax retirement and Social Security, because there is a big difference. There is a major difference. I have clients, I haven't added up all the states that I have active clients in. I want to say it's somewhere around 20 active clients, and I have clients on 3 continents, and 3 continents, and I don't even know how many countries I have clients. But because I'm an enrolled agent, if you're an American and you're working in another country, you still have to file an American tax return. And that's what I get a lot of. I get a lot of expatriates, as they're called, people working in other countries, and I handle that. So I'm going to talk about the different states, but before I get into that, I want to talk about this. Where is the only free cheese, Todd? In a mousetrap. The only free cheese is in a mousetrap. Okay, there is no free cheese. There is no free ride. Okay, there's no free meal. Which one do you want me to use? Right? The waitress is going to bring the bill at some point. Okay, all these states that give all this stuff away have some of the highest taxes in the country. Right? And people are like, well, I'll pay my fair share. No, my fair. You know what I think my fair share is? 0. That's my fair share. Right? The only good tax is no tax. Let's get back to that. Taxation with representation, okay, has not been such a good idea either. What was the colonial battle cry? We were being taxed without being represented. Well, they should have lobbied for no tax at all. That would have been the way to have done it. And while taxation has always been a thing, the level of taxation we have now is, unprecedented. And it was higher before. And I really have a warning that we're going to see. I just have a warning. We're going to see some very high taxation. I'm sorry. I got to say it. I don't, what do I base it on? You can't keep spending like this. And at some point, something's got to give. Every economic model shows it. You can't rewrite these laws, and getting rid of capitalism and replacing it with socialism isn't the answer that everybody seems to think it is. It's not. Something's got to give at some point. Resources have to be taken from somebody to be given to somebody else. Okay? And, get me going. And so let me stick to topic. So, because of the China virus, the Wuhan virus, a lot of people are working from home. So in places like, we even have that here. You could be living here in Rutherford County, but work down in Spartanburg or Greenville. Okay, so you pay taxes in North Carolina, you pay taxes in South Carolina. People that do that know. You have two state tax returns. Okay, typically what happens is during the year they withhold taxes from you and send it to South Carolina. Then when I do your tax return, this is typical now, this is not everybody, but typical, then when I do your tax return, I reconcile that. Remember, a tax return is a reconciliation of what happened during the year. So I reconcile your tax return, and typically you'll get some or a lot, depending on how many dependents you have and how much you made, you'll get a lot of that money back. Okay? Or you may even owe North Carolina. So just as a scenario, you'll get $700 back from South Carolina, but you got to turn around and pay $300 to North Carolina, because we're reconciling that. Because your employer has to do the withholding in the state where you worked. Okay? So, now with telecommuting in places like New York and Washington, D.C., places like that, you've got people that live in another state but work in another state. Well, now they're working from home. So, let's say in Connecticut, you live in Connecticut, you work in Connecticut, you live in Connecticut, you work in New York. Well, now you're not working in New York anymore, you're working in Connecticut. New York is saying, no, you still need to send us that money. Okay, we still need that money, but I'm not working in New York anymore. I'm working in Connecticut now. No, but you were working in New York. I mean, this makes no sense. This makes no sense. You were working there, and you're not working now because of the pandemic. So 2 states are actually passing laws right now to stop that. Connecticut and I just drew a blank on what the other state was. There's 2 of them. Minnesota are passing laws right now to protect the home. They call it the teleworker. They're passing a law to stop that so that they can't do that. New York is saying that. I mean, I was reading this last night, and it's almost like I mean, they have on their website, they have, and I printed it, and I'm not going to read it because I'm going to put everybody back to sleep this morning, but it's kind of humorous. They have a whole thing on if you're a resident, if you're domiciled, if you're not domiciled, if your primary office is inside New York State, but I'm telecommuting from outside the state due to the China virus, do I owe New York State taxes? And they're saying, yes, you do. So the bottom line is it gets to it that, yes, you do. A person who lives in one state but works in another state may have tax liability in both states, but will typically receive a tax credit in their state of residence to eliminate the double taxation. Well, now New York is saying, well, it doesn't matter that you're just in your one state. You know, you're not working in our state anymore. You were, and your company's headquartered here, and this is just because of the virus. So we want our money. Well, Connecticut said, no, we're not going to have any of that. So they are passing some laws. So we get 2 states right now have introduced bills. Other states are looking for guidance. They've asked their legislators for guidance on this. The IRS is coming after people that are doing gig working. Okay, for those of you that don't know what that means, gig working is like people are taking on second and third jobs, but they're not like official jobs. They're not working for somebody. They're driving Uber. They're doing DoorDash. What are some other gig jobs, Todd? What are some of the popular ones? Uber and DoorDash are the big ones that I know. But which one? Instacart. Oh, Instacart. And then there's the thing now where people they're renting their car. It's like Airbnb with your car. So some people are jumping in the deep end and buying these high-end cars that they can't afford. But you know how they're going to be able to afford it, Todd? According to their thinking, they're going to go ahead and rent their car. There's actually an app, and I forgot what it's called, but there's an app that you download, and let's say I want to impress somebody, whatever, and I want to go drive a BMW Gullwing, whatever the newest BMW is. So you find somebody that's got one nearby, and you rent it for the weekend, and for a couple $100 a day or whatever, and you go and drive that person's car around, and so this is part of the gig economy now. But Uber and Lyft are the big ones. DoorDash is the other one. Those are the really big ones, and there's all kinds of these services that people are doing. What's Instacart?
So I need to go buy me a McLaren.
Buy a McLaren and rent it out. Yes, exactly. No, that is not what you're going to do. That is. I want to see how long this lasts, but it's a big thing right now. It's huge. There are hundreds of thousands of these transactions are happening daily, supposedly, according to the IRS. Instacart delivers your groceries. Right. In Illinois, we had a thing called Peapod that did that. Peapod would, and then there are people that will go and pick up food at, DoorDash does that type of thing. They'll go pick up your things. You order them now because of COVID. They can, the COVID-19, you may have heard of it. They'll go to Staples and they'll go to Walmart. You call your order in and have it ready. They'll pick them all up and bring them to you. So everything's done by cash. It's straight cash or PayPal transfer or something like that. Well, the IRS is really coming after these people. They're really, this is taxable income, and they expect you to report it all, including tips. So even if it's cash, you still have to report it. The problem with that is that people just aren't going to do that. They're not. The whole reason they're doing this is because they don't have any money. So they're going to do this and give it to the IRS. we're supposed to tell you that that you're supposed to do this. And the other problem with this is this is self-employment income. So you're paying the 15% plus 15 plus percent self-employment tax on this, which is pretty substantial. I mean, that's a big chunk of it. When you're done, you're going to pay somewhere around, let's say you're in a 10% tax bracket, 12% tax bracket, and you're paying 15%, so you're paying 27 to 30%, and throw in North Carolina's 5.25%, you're paying a third plus of that money in taxes. Again, the whole reason why are people doing this? Because they don't have any money. They need money. So, but they're really coming after all of this right now. Now, on PayPal and Amazon and places like that, they won't give you a 1099K. That a 1099K says how much money was rung up on your credit card. So when people pay you with a credit card, how much was rung up on your credit card account, your credit card processing account. The 1099K just says how much your gross sales. Now this is gross sales. They're not a gross ring, and it's just cash. It's just credit. It's not cash. It's when people give you a credit card, you swipe it. You have a Square app or a PayPal app or whatever app you're using. You ring up their credit card. Well, if it's over $20,000, which is not a lot of money, it's easy to hit that, believe it or not, especially if you're doing eBay sales or you're doing Amazon sales. So if it's $20,000 or more, they issue that 1099K. And that 1099K does get reported to the IRS. And you will have to explain that money, what it was. We're having people that are doing eBay as a hobby, not as a business. They're just selling stuff that they own, stuff that they've had. Well, the IRS doesn't know that. To the IRS, you're selling stuff. It's a business. They want their cut of it. But if you're just selling your own stuff, but you still got to put it on a tax return if you get a 1099K and let them know. And it's opened up a whole can of worms. I had a client. He's 14, 15. At the time, because this was 2 years ago, it takes them a couple of years to catch up with you. This isn't going to happen like you file your tax return today and next week you're going to get this letter from the IRS. It's usually a year or two down the line. So he was into vintage comic books. And anybody that's into that world knows those things can be $1,000 easy if it's the right ones. $400, $300, $80, $90. The price on some of those things is unbelievable, especially some of the very rare ones, first issues. He was into those, and he was into just a lot of that kind of stuff. Marvel comics and figurines, like the toys and all that. He had a lot of that, and he was just buying and selling them on eBay. He gets a letter from the IRS. He owes $10,000. His mother, his poor mother, came to my office. She was shaking, literally shaking. What has my son done? So we explained it, and we wrote a letter and got that taken care of. But they're coming after this. They really are. And I'm going to talk about coming after it. I'm going to talk about how states tax retirement and Social Security. And Todd, we have 11 minutes left. I can't believe it. Let's take this last break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9. I want to tell you about a little-known Rutherford County gem, Integrity Marble and Granite, located at 287 Shiloh Road in Forest City. They are the premier stone fabrication company in the western North Carolina region. They specialize in granite, marble, and natural stone, offering complete design and installation. Their design center and Kohler showroom features vanities, decorative accessories, bathroom, and kitchen fixtures. You do not have to go to Charlotte or Asheville for this kind of quality. We have it right here in Forest City. Stop in their showroom and browse their beautiful displays, or you can call 828-247-8801 for a free quote. You can also go to their website, www.integritymarblegranite.com, and look at the pictures and see samples of their available materials. Now,
Mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and they will give you $100 off any sink purchase. That's Integrity, Marble, and Granite.
Put Jesse James Railroad Express on your daily lunch list. He now has daily specials. Monday, get a hot dog with mustard, chili, and onions for 99 cents. Add slaw for 45 cents. Tuesday, the Carolina Express on a regular bun, any side, 16-ounce drink, $6.99 plus tax. Thursday, chicken salad croissant, any side with regular drink, $6.99 plus tax. Friday, 2 hot dogs, any way, bag of chips, 16-ounce drinks, $4.99 plus tax. A delicious lunch every day of the week. Only at Jesse James Railroad Express, open every day 11 a.m. until 4. Closed Wednesday and Sunday. Call 828-447-4644 for takeout orders. Jesse James is located 531 Railroad Avenue in Rutherford. All aboard.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes. All aboard. WCAB AM 590 FM 100.9. I just got to say all aboard after the Railroad Express ad. I need to go over there right after this and get some coffee. It was an early morning this year. I need to go. Jesse, get a pot on. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Get a pot on for me. And a little milk on the side. So, how do states tax retirement and Social Security income? Well, not every state is the same, as we have learned. Every state taxes things differently. There is a mass exodus leaving New York City right now. Well, as I talked about earlier, with doing stuff like they're doing, why are people leaving New York City? Why are people leaving California? Especially California. I mean, California, Southern California, I was just there recently, is a beautiful place. It really is. I thought it was beautiful. I mean, the climate was, I was there in January, the climate was 80. And it was a comfortable 80. I thought it was a nice place. Why are people are bailing out of there left and right. Most of them are going to, where are they going? Texas. And Todd, why are they? See, you listen to the show. You live the show. Why are they going to Texas? Taxes. Namely, no taxes. Texas has no state income tax. Actually, 7 states do not tax individual retirement or other income. So it's a lie you have to have an income tax. Okay? It's just how they choose to tax us. Okay? It's a lie. No, the income tax is we have to have income tax. No, you don't. North Carolina has a 5.25 flat rate income tax. Okay? Which is not bad. It's really not compared to other states. Oregon, 8.75. And those of you who remember 2 weeks ago, Oregon is taxing the stimulus. The only state taxing the stimulus is the state of Oregon at 8.75. So there are people that every year get $300, $400, $500 back on their state refund, and they're happy to get it, and woohoo, let's go out to dinner, honey. We're getting that $500. Instead of getting $500 this year, they owe $500, which is major. You're expecting that. And they're finding out now, today, as they're going to go get their tax returns done. This was like breaking news 2 weeks ago. It was, I told the story, the news reporter that was doing the story, because I went to KOIN, which is their local news affiliate there, went to their website and played the story, because I didn't believe it. I really didn't. I mean, I read it, and I didn't surprise me, because they're one of those states that gives everything away for free. Well, it's got to come from somewhere. They tax income there at 8.75. So I went and I saw the story, and you're watching the news reporter as she's interviewing these tax preparers and interviewing people that just found out they owe this money, and you can see, like, in her eyes that she's figuring hers out. And she's like, I'm going to owe money. It was funny. It was just funny to watch her. But she couldn't believe it. But yes, they will tax it. So 7 states, 7, do not tax individual income or other retirement. They are Alaska, South Dakota, Wyoming, Florida, Texas, Nevada, and Washington. Now, Nevada, by the way, who just moved his entire electric car operation there? Elon Musk. He pulled out of California. I think he moved the battery. He moved one of his operations to Nevada and moved the other one to Texas. he's out of California, totally, like gone. He ain't coming back. Two states only tax dividend and interest income. Okay, and that's New Hampshire and Tennessee. 4 states exempt all or most retirement income. Now, this is just retirement income. Okay, all or most. And I was surprised to read these two. Well, there's 4, but the 2 didn't surprise me. Hawaii and Mississippi didn't surprise me. But Illinois and Pennsylvania exempt all or most of your retirement income. Okay, so that was a surprise. But 21 states tax some, but not all, of your retirement or pension income. And many of these states limit the exemption amounts based on your federal AGI. So that's where your federal tax return, that's why we can't do the state tax return until we get the federal tax return done, even though they're 2 completely separate things that merit completely different. I mean, I look at your North Carolina. Those of you that have sat there when I do your tax return, you know I'll go through your North Carolina also. I don't just, it is what it is. No, there are things in there. There are credits. There are things that apply. There are things that can change, especially if you have retirement income. Now, if you just got a couple of W-2s and maybe a 1099-R, not much. But if we get into dividend income, we get into tax-exempt retirement income, where you've got state tax-exempt bonds, federally tax-exempt bonds. So they're taxable some are taxable at the state level, but they're exempt at the federal level, and vice versa. Taxed at the federal level, but exempt at the state level. I go through all that, and I make sure that's done right. And in a complicated tax state like California, the difference can be thousands of dollars. So, it gets complicated, and it gets complicated fast. So 21 states tax some, but not all of your retirement or pension income. Now, it's, again, based on the AGI. So I'm just going to go through the list real quick. It's Alabama, Connecticut, Iowa, Maine, Missouri, New York, South Carolina, Arkansas, Delaware, Kentucky, Maryland, Montana, Oklahoma, Virginia, Colorado, Georgia, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, and Rhode Island, and Wisconsin. That's it. Now, 3 states give you credits for having retirement and pension income. So they don't tax it, but give you a credit. Why do they do that? Because they want to encourage people to have retirement and pension income, because that way you're not a burden on their local system. So they're encouraging it. They're preempting. I'm surprised that that list should have 40 names on it. These states, they don't get it. When you tax something, you kill it. When you give it credit. These states are Ohio, Oregon, and Utah. Maybe that's why they're taxing the stimulus, so they can give these people these pensions. And Utah, which by the way is also a very low tax state, or traditionally has been a low tax state. 13 states tax all or most of your private retirement and your pension. And yes, North Carolina is on that list. North Carolina, 13 states tax all or most of your private retirement and your pension income. So that's kind of been the downside. People that have moved here to get away from some of the high taxation in their state have come here. They've been a little surprised because it's taxed here. Your private retirement and pension income is taxed here. And they say, well, but I didn't earn it here. Well, it doesn't matter. You're living here now. You're not paying it in the state you lived in. You're paying it here. And again, if you're coming down here from New York, you're paying it at a much lower rate. So, but you have Arizona, Indiana, Minnesota, North Carolina, West Virginia, California, Kansas, Nebraska, North Dakota, Idaho, Massachusetts, New Mexico, and Vermont. Now, and the reason I'm even bringing this up is be aware, as many of you are planning retirement. I've got 1 minute left. Last week I talked about the tribe of Issachar, and there's a scripture that says the tribe of Issachar were the men in Israel who looked at the times, foresaw the times, and they saw what was coming up ahead. And somebody told me, you're like them fellows from the tribe of Issachar. You're seeing what's coming up ahead. I'm seeing we're coming into a high taxation environment. and it's got me concerned, and I'm sounding the trumpet, and I'm telling people, start thinking about this. Start thinking about if you're planning on moving to another state, you're planning on retiring to another state, you're planning on going somewhere else to work, be aware of the tax issues in these states. Be aware of the laws in these states. I'm getting a lot of phone calls, people that have moved here, especially people that have moved here from a state that has no state taxes. Now they've done their tax return somewhere, and they're like, they listen to me on the radio, and they're like, they want to call me and say, is this correct? I owe this much money to the state? And yes, you do. And so think it through. Do a little tax planning. Because the times ahead are going to be challenging. This has been, I will be back. I feel like I just got started on all of these topics. I'll be back next Saturday, 8 a.m.